What's cracking, guys? Omar Isaf here, back with another video. This video I want to delve a little bit more into the science of lifting. I want to talk about one of the fundamental rules of lifting, and that is always, and I do mean always, you should try and go for the full range of motion of a movement, both compound and an isolation movement. And really, when it comes to lifting, there are very few hard and fast rules you can stick with, but this is one of them. And I want to break down the science, like I said before, some of the benefits of going for full range of motion, but it's unquestionable. If you want to try and increase your size, you should definitely go for full range of motion. And I should give a little bit of a definition because there's an intense debate kind of online between, there's no question whatsoever, like I said, between full range of motion and partial range of motion. Full range of motion, actually we're not talking about how far the barbell itself moves. What we're actually talking about is the joints. So how far the joints move through their range of motion. So when it comes to bicep curl, all the way down, and I do mean all the way down, so the arm's fully extended, and then all the way to the top at that peak contraction. That is full range of motion. What partial range of motion would be is something like in the bench press. Normally what you'll see bros at the gym, they don't go all the way down, they don't touch their chest. Or it could also mean not locking out on the way up. So on an overhead press, bench press, you don't fully lock out with the triceps. And this can be really bad, once again, if your goal is to try and maximize size. Let's first go into the research, what it shows. The primary one that's important when it comes to size will be a study taking a look at the Scott curl, which is a variation of the preacher curl. And what they did, they had subjects do a partial curl, so not going all the way down, and then other individuals doing the full Scott curl, so going all the way down, extending all the way to the bottom, and then contracting all the way at the top. And what they noted is that there was definitely an indication or a trend towards greater size in the individuals that did the full range of motion. And this should really make sense when you think about it. The hardest portion of the lift is usually initiating the lift, right? If you're doing a bicep curl. Why? Because you have to overcome all that gravity. It's the hardest portion of the bicep to work. So it doesn't really make sense to shortchange where the muscle is doing the most amount of work. And guys will tend to do this, especially when it comes to isolation movements, because they'll use their back, so they'll cheat during the hardest portion, which is a very important area when it comes to growth, or they just won't go all the way down. So when it comes to isolation movements, you should definitely do full range of motion. Same idea when it comes to compound movements. And when we talk about this, I'm talking about your goal being for size, right? There comes a time and a place where you should incorporate, let's say, partial range of motion compound movements. But this de-emphasizes certain muscles and emphasizes others. As an example, a block pull as opposed to the deadlift. The goal of the block pull is to help with your lockout. Now, that makes sense, but what it changes is that it'll change what muscles are being used. And so if your goal is for strength, if your goal is to increase a particular strength through a plateau or hard area, that makes a lot of sense for you to try and do that. And also you could do partial range of motion compound movements if you really want to work a particular area. So if you want to work, let's say your triceps really hard, you might do end range of motion bench press, right? So you do pin lockout bench press, but that's focusing on the triceps. What full range of motion does, it emphasizes the compoundedness of a compound movement. So think about it. On the bench press, if you don't go all the way down, you're not maximizing your pec recruitment, your shoulder recruitment. Same idea if you don't lock out at the top, right? You're not emphasizing or you're not maximizing your tricep involvement. And so really you're just leaving gains on the table. And I don't agree with that argument with people that don't do full range, where they don't lock out and they say, oh, you know what, I want to keep my joints healthy. We're not talking about hyperextending the joints. We're talking about just that full range that's natural for your body to do. If you experience pain while doing this, this is outside, first off, of this video, but two, it's a symptom of something larger. It's not the movement that's causing you pain. It's probably, you have a movement dysfunction, a pattern that's built up in your body, something else. It's not doing the full range. If anything, in fact, I want to counter that. Doing the full range of motion for compound movements, like squatting deep, right? Squatting as low as you can safely, actually can increase your range of motion, and really it lengthens the muscle, similar to stretch, and I would argue it's even more effective. So in a weird way, like I've been advocating for a long time, overhead squats, they actually help increase the range of motion on your squats. So who would have thought squatting deeper allows you to squat deeper? So I reject that notion about, oh, it's unsafe on your joints. Like I said, hard and fast rules are hard to come by. pun intended, when you try and build size, but this is definitely one of them. And if you want to add some more rules to make sure you're doing full range of motion, you always, if you're using a barbell, it should touch your body at some point. Bench press, touch your chest. Overhead press, touch the clavicle. When it comes to a row, bar makes contact with your body. And another tip would be if you're trying to determine grip width, in general, shoulder width is a pretty damn good option just because it allows you to get a greater range of motion. Think about it. If your arms are straight out in front of you, so shoulder width, or if they're a lot wider, what will allow you to have a greater range of motion? Last note I want to say about this video is that this really is athletic aesthetic in a nutshell, right? When it comes to the primary movement that you want to get stronger at, your goal is to try and become as strong as possible. So that's where you train it hard and heavy, and that is why, you know, when you squat, you're trying to maybe compete, so you only want to squat as low as necessary in order to get past into federation. But when you move on then to doing your other movements, so after your primary movement, that's when you take more of a bodybuilding methodical approach, right? You want to go through that full range of motion, and this can also be beneficial for just even strength athletes. Why? Because when you do that full ROM, what happens? You have to use a lighter load. Just think about this. If you squat all the way down, or if you squat halfway, what's going to be harder? That full range of motion. So it's less stressful on your nervous system, so you can really focus then on those hard first movements, go hard and heavy, neuromuscular potentiation, and then when you do your assistance movements, you're focusing more like a bodybuilder on full range of motion, making sure you emphasize the muscles and targeting them effectively. Guys, that is the video. I hope this breaks it down. Make sure to share with the bro if they're having that debate. They think, oh, you know what, like I gotta overload the muscles by swinging it up while doing a bicep curl. No, man, you just look like a jackass. Trust me, I was there before. I did the same thing. We want to focus on building muscles that we intend to target. Full range of motion, depth before dishonor. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you liked the video, you made it all the way to the end of the video. I'll be making more. Make sure to like the damn video, check back to more, and I will be seeing all you guys, my rascals, in that next video. Peace. Eat your vegetables, eat your vegetables, eat your fucking vegetables.